everyone, and welcome to FranTastic Insights, where we provide insights from some of the coolest people in franchising. My name is Alesia Visconti. I am the CEO and president of FranServe and Franchise Dictionary magazine. Now, FranServe is the largest franchise consulting organization in the world, and our mission is very simple. We just like to change people's lives through franchise ownership. And we do that through a plethora of fantastic franchisees, franchisors, and our consultants. So today I'm very, very excited. I have Mark McKeller. He is the development agent for HomeVestors of America. Now, if you don't think you know the brand, trust me, you do. They're also known as We Buy Ugly Houses. And see, now I see all those aha moments going off in the audience. So Mark, very welcome to the show. Glad to have you. And you can just say where you are right now, because that's a little bit interesting as well.
Oh, thank you, Alesia. I'm actually in Bonaire, which is an island of the Southern Caribbean. My wife and I came down just for a short visit back last March. Right after we got here, they shut the airport down, and it's been shut. And ever since then, they just opened it last week. So we'll get back to the States soon, but that's where we are now.
And yet business goes on, doesn't it, Mark?
Sure does, absolutely does. I have two franchises of HomeVestors, one outside of Dallas and one outside of Tampa. And I'm very fortunate to have good people that work on my teams, and we're just carrying on. They're doing their thing.
Excellent. Now, if you could share with our audience a little bit about your company, what it does and what makes your, brand so interesting and unique. I think that would be a great way for us to really start.
Okay, thanks. I'll do that. Well, first of all, the brand, HomeVestors of America, the company was started by a guy in Dallas, Texas back 25 years ago who was a home buyer. He was buying and selling houses. He'd been an agent. And a broker actually, and he noticed, his name is Ken D'Angelo. Ken noticed that a lot of people were bringing him houses to buy as opposed to list. And so that kind of became a business for him. And he did it as an independent guy by himself for a lot of years. He was advertising in Dallas, trying to do things to generate leads. And he realized, or he had this idea that if he brought some of his buddies together and they all pooled their resources and they, advertised together and let the phone calls come in and share them, that maybe that would be a better way and everybody could do better because of economies of scale and all that. And sure enough, it worked gangbusters for him there. So that was the impetus of the franchise. So it actually came out of somebody doing what we do. And now we're in 145 markets. We've got 1,200 offices. So we're kind of off to the races. But what our franchisees do is we buy houses at a discount, and then we either fix them and sell them, or we sell them wholesale to other investors sometimes, or we fix them and rent them. And the reason that we're able to do any of those three things almost every time we buy a house is because we're buying them at deeper discounts than most investors. That's why we can choose to sell them wholesale, maybe just mark them up and sell them to somebody else if we don't want to touch them, because we're getting a good enough deal to do that. How? Well, we're targeting people that need to sell a house quickly, somebody that can't call an agent, somebody that really needs to do something faster than that. They typically find themselves in a tough situation. It's not necessarily related to the house. It might be a death or a divorce, or they're elderly and they've got to move into an assisted living facility or something of that nature. Could be, rentals gone bad, could be a death in the family. Different reasons people want to sell a house quickly, and the houses typically need some repairs, so they don't feel like they can do it the conventional way. So they call us, and that's the nature of what we do. We really, people think we're in the real estate business, but we're really in the people business. We're out there helping people that have a tough situation, and we get to buy a house because of it. So our franchisees take those calls from the sellers every day, go out, make offers on the houses, and if they get a transaction closed or a house bought, then they will they'll decide what they want to do with the house. And if they need money to fix it, HomeVestors also loans us money to purchase and fix the house. It'd be difficult for most of us to afford ourselves to buy all the houses that we or to fund all the houses that we buy. So that's what we do. We buy, fix, and sell houses, and we help people in tough spots.
Well, I tell you something, Mark, I'm so glad that you explained it that way because I think you're right. I bet most people think, you're in the real estate business and, to some degree, yes, but really, as you said, you're much more into helping the people who need to
Absolutely.
do a quick turnaround. So wonderful, a niche for you guys to be in. Now, you
Yeah.
were talking about, how you started and expanded and where you guys have grown. What about now? I know sometimes, people still want to be everywhere, but are there any markets in particular that you're looking to expand in now or that are hotter than others for you right now? What can you share a little bit with our listeners?
Yeah, thank you. As far as I get that question all the time, what are the hot markets? Where should we go in this business? And because of the way we do it, really no market is hotter than any other market because we're buying from people that have tough situations in life, and those situations happen to everybody everywhere. So anywhere, what I tell people is if you know where you want to live, then go there. Make your life fun and enjoyable because you're where you want to be. This business will work anywhere you want to make it work. Over the years, I've been with HomeVestors for 25 years, and I've had franchises in various cities, and it worked the same way in every place. There are a few places in the United States where we don't need franchisees, but there are not many of those. So the chances are most people that are listening to this, or most of you consultants, most of your clients are going to they're going to be in a place where we can put them. If you want to know specifically, just send us a territory request and we'll let you know. But there really isn't any individual market that's better than another. What you're going to find though is there are differences in the way you have to do your business. Say in Los Angeles, I had a franchise in LA at one point for years and sold it, opened one in Tampa where I have it now. And then I also own one in a small city outside of Dallas, Sherman, Texas. And those are three very different markets. Cost wise, you can buy 5 houses in Sherman for what one house costs in Los Angeles. So what that means is the business is a little different in that it costs me a little bit more money to advertise to get a house in a more expensive market. But on the flip side, I make more money when I sell it, right? So it's kind of a trade-off. So you'll find that people that are in expensive markets, they'll have businesses that are a little lower volume, but they're higher profit per house. People that are in smaller markets, they're going to be a higher volume business to get to the same amount of money. On the flip side, if you're in a small market, a cheaper market, your rent numbers tend to be better. So you'll hold a lot of more rentals if you're in Sherman, Texas, than if you're in Los Angeles. So there are differences in markets, but it's not that it works. It's not that it can't work somewhere and it works in another place. It's just different. And we can coach anybody that comes in on how they need to function in whatever market they're in.
Yeah, and I think that's a great explanation because, again, depending on the market itself, the business is somewhat flexible
Correct.
to adjust to how the market is set up. So that's great because, as you said, there's houses and rentals and property right everywhere throughout the United States, right? So as long as it can adapt, that's a wonderful thing for your franchisees. Absolutely.
Yeah, I asked Ken D'Angelo early on, to your point. I said, where does this work? I said, well, because they didn't have any franchises in Atlanta at the time, and I was the first guy there back in 2000. So, and I asked him, I said, well, I see it works in Dallas, Texas. Does it work in Atlanta? He said, let me ask you a question. You got people in houses in Atlanta? I said, yeah. He said, it'll work in Atlanta. So when people ask me, will it work where I am? I said, I don't know. You got people in houses? Yeah, it'll work.
That's a great criteria, right? You got to have people in houses. I love it. I love it. Now we're talking about markets, but let's talk a little bit about your franchisees. What traits do you look for in a new franchisee? What makes the best franchisee, right? So what can you share on that a little bit?
That's a great question because a lot of people think, well, I need to be a contractor. I should be a real estate agent. And in fact, those things aren't necessary. What makes the best franchisees are people that have either one of two or both of these skill sets. They're salespeople oriented. They are people. You give me somebody who's been selling Kirby vacuum cleaners door to door successfully, his career, that's my guy, right? I don't care if he knows anything about real estate. He knows how to go in and sit down with grandma and grandma's kids and talk about a tough spot they're in and give them a solution and try to get a deal closed. That's what that guy knows how to do. So somebody that's good with people, women are great in this business. Why? Because they create relationships. They're so good at creating relationships with sellers. And that, if you think about our sellers, the people that call us, they're in a tough spot. I mean, they've got probably the biggest asset they own is they're going to have to sell at a discount. That's not comfortable. They probably are doing it because they have a really tough life situation right now. They're really feeling vulnerable, so people that are good at bonding with folks in that kind of situation are really good at this business. So if the idea of going in and talking to people about a tough spot they have and seeing if you've got a good solution for them, if that appeals to you, this is probably a good business for you. You can hire contractors. And but you need to be a good people person. Now, the second type of person that's good at this is somebody that's just a good business manager, somebody that is maybe from corporate America that was managing a team, or maybe somebody that owned another business that had people they managed. Because if that's the case, then you can hire people that are good with people. You can hire good salespeople. We call them buyers because they're not really selling something, they're buying houses. So if you're a good manager of people or good with people, those are the two things that are most important for franchisees to get into our business.
That's super. And I'm so glad that you pointed out that you don't need to be a contractor or the real estate experience, because I think that's what initially, right, people think. They think that they have to have that background. And here, one of the benefits about a franchise is the operations and the support and the training, so that you see that, you don't need to have that background. And in fact, Mark just outlined, right? You just outlined some of the things that the qualities, and they're nothing to do with being a contractor or a real estate developer. So
no, and it actually, you that's a great observation. If you look at our franchisees and you look at just who they are, a lot of our franchisees are actually people that were already in real estate. And the reason for that is because they see that we have a system, for generating leads from sellers, for financing, that's better than what they're doing as an independent. So they join us, right? So we have a lot of those people in our franchise because of that. But if you look at the success of our franchisees and you look at the top 20%, a lot of them are not real estate people. They were people that were corporate. They were people that were salespeople. So those kinds of people tend to be, and the way they learn about the real estate is HomeVestors has great training. I mean, we can teach anybody, and I'm an example of that. When I got in the business, I bought 32 houses my first year in the business. I kept 8 of them for rent. I mean, that was a great year. How much real estate experience did I have? 0. I came from the sign and the printing business. I mean, I didn't know anything about real estate. And I didn't know, the only house I'd ever bought in my life was one I lived in, right? And so they taught me how to not make a mistake, which was probably the most important thing, how to be able to look at a house and figure out whether it's the right house to buy so you don't get in trouble. That's what HomeVestors is all about. And you mentioned earlier that I'm a development agent. And I want to explain a little bit of that because I think it's important for people to understand how it protects franchisees. The development agent model wasn't our idea, and it came actually from Subway, believe it or not. That's the model they use, and we kind of copied what they do. And so a development agent is a successful franchisee that understands a local market. So when a new franchisee comes into the market, the development agent is going to take that person and do the on the ground training out in the field. There's a week of training somebody has to go through at corporate. Right now it's virtual instead of being in Dallas, but they're learning the tools, how to use our tool to evaluate property, how to report properties, how to use the Salesforce-based CRM for lead, processing. But when you get out in the field and your phone starts ringing, that's when the rubber meets the road, right? And you've got a development agent alongside you who's helping you out on those calls with you, that's been doing it for years. I mean, if I go out with a guy that's new or a girl that's new, I know how to do this. Okay. So they're going to watch me, and then maybe I'll watch them. And then if they end up getting a contract, they'll get to see how I think about what we do with the house. That's invaluable. Okay. So that's why somebody with no experience can be comfortable that they're going to get into this thing and not get in trouble. because if you ask somebody who's never been in real estate, what's their biggest fear? It's making a mistake. I mean, you buy the wrong house, that can be a big problem, right? So HomeVestors is smart with this development agent model to give the candidates, a real security in it. And if you consultants out there, when you send a person to us, and by the way, thank you for all the people that have come through FranServe in the last year. We love working with you guys.
I got you.
And we're pretty good at taking a candidate through and making sure they fit in an efficient way. And so what happens if you send somebody to us, we'll communicate with you the whole time about what's going on. But part of that process is they have to meet a development agent or talk to a development agent and really understand the market from somebody who's in it. And so validation's not only easy in our business, it's required. You can't buy this franchise without going through other franchisees, because development agents are franchisees, right? So, and that's kind of why I'm doing this. I don't work for corporate. I'm a development agent because I'm taking the time to do this because I understand the value of bringing the right people in. And frankly, somebody like me is going to have to coach them, so they better be the right people, right? So we have a vested interest. So I kind of represent the development agents in this call, making sure that we get the right folks in.
That's awesome. And I will tell you, it's that kind of support, and it, that really makes the brand, it makes franchising the success. It is that, the tagline we all use about being in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And it really is that support and that ongoing training. And like you said, it's almost like where you, in some ways hold the hand right at the beginning and help them walk through so that they can map out their success. So I think that's an awesome way to go about it. And I know, listen, I might be wrong, Mark, but I think don't you guys offer a veteran discount as well for your franchisees?
Yes, we do. And in fact, we love veterans. So the key to our business, and this is not just our franchise, but is doing what we tell you to do. If people ask me, what's the difference between people that succeed and don't? Well, the ones that do what I tell them to do, they do fine. And people from the military are really good at that, right? So they tend to be disciplined. This is one of those businesses, not like a restaurant where you sit back and wait for people to come in the door. You've got to make it happen. You got to take the calls, go out, meet sellers. You got to make it happen. You got to track everything you're doing, and you got to keep up with it and be organized. That's military, right? So we love veterans.
Well, that's awesome. I love it. As you know, I'm very involved and passionate about, helping veterans get into franchising and transitioning into that. So we appreciate, the discount that you offer. And, as a member of VetFran, really appreciate all of that. And it kind of brings me to my next segment on this. I want to talk a little bit about, a hashtag I use on social media, probably more than even my own company hashtag, and that's franchise strong. I am so passionate about that because to me, a lot of what you were saying, the relationship building, the support, the understanding of people's situation really is the heart of franchising. I know it sounds crazy, but we really do help change people's lives and give them the kind of future that they're looking for. And franchising, to me, it's the franchise family, right? It's the coming together of caring people to help other people learn and be successful in franchising. Now, I'd be real interested to understand what franchise strong means to you and to your brand.
Yeah, thank you, because it is very important, that whole concept, and it drives our whole franchise from the core of the corporate office. Our mission as a corporate office and as franchisees is about serving the customer. We teach our new franchisees that we're dealing with people that are in one of the toughest spots of their lives, and so the last thing you need to think about when you walk into a house is that you're there to serve somebody that's in a painful spot. You're there to be of service. You're not there to make a sale. You're not there to buy a house. You're there to be of service to a person in need. And that concept from the customer back, when we're all present to that, makes that whole idea pervade every level of what we do, right? So, when the franchisees are present to that as their mission, and the franchisor, we're present to the fact that that's our mission with the franchisee, and the development agents are in between. The the franchisees meet once or twice a month in every ad council to talk about that concept of the service that they need to provide to the customers. The development agents, we meet every month to talk about how can we better serve the franchisees and make sure that their lives are changed, like you say, because our franchisees are changing lives every day. That's what they do. I mean, my mother's a real estate agent. She was very successful for 30 years. I don't think she ever had anybody cry in her arms over a closing. I've had that more times than I can count from customers that we make that much of a difference, right? And the DAs can make that kind of difference with the franchisees in helping and being of serving them. And the corporate office, their whole objective is to serve us as DAs. So once a month, they also meet with us to hold themselves accountable. What else can we do to make your lives, make a difference in your lives? So we 100% love that hashtag and believe it, from the corporate all the way down through the franchisee. Being of service is what guides us.
Mark, when we opened up, how long did you say, was it 25? How long did you say? 25 years?
Yeah. Well, I've actually been a franchisee since 2000, so 21 years, but I've been around the company since 95.
I must tell you that even today, right, listening to you, your passion comes out very strongly. It's just, it's great that you've been, tenured, but the passion is very fresh and very dynamic. So listening to you, I get excited and I get those warm fuzzies from how you help, your customers, right, in situations when they're struggling. So kudos to you and the whole team and everyone at the organization. And I have to say, I know everyone's busy. I know your schedule's certainly crazy with everything going on, but I want to thank you so much for coming on to the show and talking to us about all of it. And audience, thank you so much. And be sure to subscribe to our channel so you can get more videos. But before we wrap up, Mark, I'm going to turn it back over to you for any last words.
Yeah, just one thing. There's a lot of pain right now in the world with COVID, and I think our franchisees find that being in business right now and having an avenue to be able to be of service is a huge way to feel good about the world in the moment that we're in. And I think that's the reason, I don't know whether it was consciously in people's parts, but it's the reason that we had a better year this year than in a lot of years previously as a franchisor, and also in awarding franchises, because I think people kind of resonate with this franchise being a way that you can really help people and make something good out of this COVID thing. We do really well when there's a tough economic time. We did great after the crash of 2008. Right after 9/11, the next year was my best year in business that whole decade, because people were in a tough spot. They were suffering and they needed some financial help, and we were able to help them. That's happening now. So if you've got people that feel like they want to do something that's making a difference, if they're feeling despair right now and they really want to do something that to make them feel like they're doing something that matters, this is a franchise for that. I mean, we really do matter to people that are in a tough spot. So just something to think about.
Actually, that's a wonderful wrap up. And, it's a win-win on all levels, because the franchisee, right, gets their dream job of franchise ownership and business ownership. And like you said, they're helping people, their clients, out in a difficult situation. So,
Right.
It really is that win-win. I mean, truly in business. So great for those insights. And I appreciate your time, Mark. And I just have to say it, have a FranTastic day.
You bet. You too. Thank you, Alesia.